Hi, I'm John, Belgian physical therapist, and I work for postureplan.com. Let's look at a muscle that causes a lot of problems for people who are 50 to 60 years old. And in this video, we'll look at what the muscle is and why it creates problems. And then we'll look at the exercises that I do to avoid having these problems in the future. So first of all, it's called the supraspinatus, and it's a muscle that contributes to shoulder stability. It's quite a small muscle. It works alongside other muscles in what's called the rotator cuff. So every time we move our shoulder, because it's a ball head joint, it's very mobile, and we need muscles to help stabilize it. During my physical therapy studies, I learned that 50% of people who are in their 50s have a tendon tear in this muscle. And even though recently when trying to find those numbers again, I could only find around 20%, the point is there's a lot of tendon tears in this muscle. Now, not everyone who has a tendon tear will feel it. They can be what's called asymptomatic, so they have a tendon tear, but it doesn't create any problems, no pain. But personally, in my own life, I know a lot of people around this age who have a painful tendon tear in this place. Let's look at the localization of this muscle. Here we've got a shoulder blade. The scapula is another word for shoulder blade, and this is called the spine of the scapula. And underneath, you're going to have a whole lot of muscle insertions, but above, you've got a small space here, a fossa, that is where the supraspinatus will insert. Now, why don't you try and feel your own shoulder blade and see if you can feel that spine. Once you've found it, the area above it is going to be where you're going to find that supraspinatus. So you've got this muscle that starts here and then goes onto the humerus. And normally there aren't these two metal bars, so there's only going to be a little bit of space in between both these bones. And some people say that it's because there's not a lot of space that when the arm lifts up, it's going to impinge on that tendon and create that tear. Now, I believe that's been contested. I don't know if we know it for sure. Also, people say that there's not a lot of blood flow going to this muscle, and I think that is a contributing factor. The supraspinatus helps us lift our arms sideways, mainly the beginning of the lift, the first 30 degrees. The hypothesis that says that it's a lot to do with repetitive movements, repetitive stress and strain throughout the years of our life. I think that one holds up pretty well because lifting our shoulders is something we do a lot, and this is a very small muscle that we often forget to strengthen. So I think that adds up to why for 50 and 60-year-olds, this muscle tends to have a lot of tears. So you can massage for 30 seconds, just gently pressing along that muscle and also feeling where it inserts. And then after 30 seconds of warming that muscle up for massage, you could try and press a little harder, trying to feel for filaments of the muscle that are a little more tense and maybe holding pressure for longer on it. So here I've got a filament that's a bit more tense, and I'm going to press and hold with about the strength of trying to dent an apple, and I'm going to hold that for 30 seconds. And I could do this on both sides. That's to release tension in my supraspinatus. Now let's look at various exercises from easy to harder to strengthen it. So in this case, we're going to pretend that we're lifting up our arm to the side, but the wall is going to block us. So we're going to activate our muscle as the wall is blocking us. We're going to hold this for 10-15 seconds. And I'm using only about 70% of my strength, and I could do this 2 or 3 times. I like to use light weights. So you could use water bottles for this, or 1 or 2 kilos. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what's called the full can exercise. So I'm going to lift up my arm like so with the weight, and I'm not doing it perfectly horizontal. I'm moving my arm forwards by about 30 degrees. And I'm just going to lift up a weight or weights, controlling up and down. I could do this 10 times and 3 sets. The supraspinatus contributes to shoulder stability, and our shoulder is often very weak in external rotation. So here's a few exercises that work that external rotation. First is lying on my side with a weight. I'm going to control an external rotation going up and down, and I'm not moving my body with 10 times, 3 sets. With a resistance band, I'm going to put it around my wrists, and I'm going to do the beginning of an external rotation. And then keeping my elbows at 90 degrees, I'm going to lift my arms while keeping a bit of tension towards both arms, external rotation. Going up and down, and 2 sets of 10. I mean, you can do 3, but this is quite a hard exercise. Here's an even harder exercise. So this would be external rotation. But now I'm going to jump out as I do an external rotation, and then I walk back. I jump out, holding the external rotation, and then I walk back. Even doing 7 of these is hard, so I would suggest maybe 2 sets of 7 to 10. And there you have it. Those are some exercises to strengthen the supraspinatus. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to PosturepLan for more exciting videos, and I'll see you in the next one.